From homeless to $1 billion. Millionaire CEO accidentally fell in love. She is an unknown financial expert. Beautiful souls and my amazing family, welcome to a journey that will touch your heart and perhaps even change how you see life's darkest moments. I'm honored you're here with me today, sharing this sacred space where stories heal and transform us all. Meet Lila Moreau, a woman whose world shattered in an instant when tragedy claimed her husband and 2 children, leaving her adrift in grief at just 28 years old. By 32, this once vibrant mother and wife wandered the cold streets of Ironwood District, clutching nothing but a worn notebook filled with business ideas, the last embers of hope in a life consumed by loss. Despite hunger gnawing at her stomach and the biting cold seeping into her bones, something remarkable burned within Lila, an unbreakable spirit that refused to surrender to despair. Her story isn't just about homelessness or financial ruin, it's about the extraordinary resilience that can bloom from the soil of our deepest wounds. You know, my dear family, these tales I share with you aren't just videos, they're pieces of my soul. Every day, I spend 10 to 12 hours crafting these stories with deep love and care, rewriting scenes, fine-tuning emotions, staying up late into the night, because you deserve nothing but the very best. When you subscribe, like, share, or leave those heartfelt comments, it lights a fire in me. Your words remind me that I'm not just creating content. I'm creating moments. Moments that matter. Moments that stay. Before we dive into today's story, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your subscribe matters to us. It makes us grow. It makes us strong. It makes us sound. It makes us encouraged. So please hit that subscribe button and fully be a member of this solid family. I love you all too much. And I want to stay and remain with you all, my beautiful family. Also, go ahead and drop the name of your country in the comments. Let's celebrate how beautifully connected we are. So now, take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear might just stay with you forever. Let's begin. Lila Moreau stood at the intersection of survival and surrender, a slender figure with determined eyes that reflected both loss and possibility. Her once manicured hands now bore the calluses of street life, yet she moved with a grace that poverty couldn't diminish. Chestnut hair, often tied back with a frayed ribbon, framed a face that carried both beauty and the shadow of sleepless nights. When she spoke, her voice carried unexpected authority, a remnant of the confident woman she once was. The threadbare coat she wrapped tightly around herself had been mended countless times, each stitch a small act of defiance against deterioration. In rare moments when she laughed, usually at some ironic twist of fate, the sound surprised even her, like discovering a forgotten melody. Most striking was her gaze, direct, unflinching, and somehow still luminous despite years of tears. Lila carried her notebook everywhere, fingers often tracing its worn cover like a talisman, her last connection to a time when dreams seemed possible. She moved through the world with the peculiar alertness of those who've learned that attention means survival, yet beneath this vigilance lay something rarer, a steadfast refusal to be defined by circumstance. Before tragedy rewrote her story, Lila had been a marketing executive with infectious enthusiasm and a gift for seeing potential where others saw obstacles. The accident that claimed her family occurred on a rain-slicked highway, transforming her in an instant from a woman with everything to one with nothing but grief. The first year afterward passed in a fog of medication and therapy, her corporate position eventually lost to extended leave. The second year brought financial collapse as savings dwindled and the house that echoed with ghosts became impossible to maintain. By the third year, Lila had descended through progressively smaller apartments until the streets became her unwanted home. Yet what drove her wasn't merely survival, it was redemption. Each business idea scrawled in her notebook represented not just potential income but restoration of identity. She clung to her former self's analytical mind and creative thinking as drowning people clutch lifelines. Her motivation transcended financial recovery. She sought to honor her lost family by becoming someone they would recognize again, someone worthy of the love that still anchored her to purpose despite everything that had been taken. Adrian Voss entered Lila's world like a collision of parallel universes. At 38, his meteoric rise through tech innovation had created a fortune that isolated as much as it empowered. Behind his confident smile and impeccable suits lurked insecurities born from humble beginnings and the constant fear that his success was temporary. The night Lila saved him from muggers revealed a vulnerability he rarely acknowledged. Marcus Dre, Adrian's chief business rival, moved through corporate circles with serpentine charm that concealed ruthless ambition. His perfectly tailored appearance and calculated generosity masked a man who viewed compassion as weakness and people as pawns. Between these men stood Adrian's executive assistant, Elise Chen, sharp-witted, fiercely loyal, and the first to recognize Lila's exceptional mind beneath her circumstances. With her no-nonsense efficiency and subtle kindness, Elise became the quiet bridge between Lila's street-forged resilience and the corporate battlefield where her future would be decided. These characters orbited Lila like planets around a wounded sun, each drawn by different forces of admiration, suspicion, and recognition of something extraordinary in a woman's society had discarded. Ironwood District crawled with desperation and unexpected beauty. Crumbling brick buildings wore decades of neglect like badges, while vibrant street art bloomed on abandoned walls, defiant creativity amid decay. The constant soundtrack of distant sirens mingled with impromptu music from street performers trying to earn enough for their next meal. At night, the district transformed under flickering streetlights, shadows deepening as people huddled in doorways or gathered around trash can fires that offered brief reprieve from the cold. In stark contrast, Silver Heights rose like a glittering mirage of prosperity, all sleek glass towers reflecting clouds and sunlight, immaculate streets lined with luxury vehicles, and security guards ensuring that poverty remained comfortably out of sight. The 15-minute walk between these worlds crossed an invisible barrier that few traversed. Most poignant was the transitional neighborhood where Lila eventually found her modest apartment, a liminal space where hope and hardship coexisted in uneasy balance. The weathered building with its temperamental heating system stood as a physical manifestation of Lila herself, damaged yet standing, overlooked yet full of possibility, existing between two worlds while fully belonging to neither. These contrasting environments weren't merely backdrops but characters themselves, shaping decisions and challenging identities with their constant, silent judgment of who belonged where. Lila's first day at Adrian's corporate headquarters felt like entering another dimension. Security guards scrutinized her worn clothing with barely concealed suspicion, while executives in tailored suits whispered behind kaftans. The temporary consulting position, evaluating a struggling division, seemed designed to fail. Her workspace, a converted storage closet with flickering lights and outdated equipment. The files dumped unceremoniously on her makeshift desk revealed a division hemorrhaging money for reasons deliberately obscured by convoluted accounting. Most telling was the cold email from Marcus Dre to a board member: "Let the homeless charity case spin her wheels." When she fails, Adrian's judgment comes into question. The underlying challenge wasn't just saving a failing business unit, it was proving her worth in a world built to exclude her. The division specialized in consumer technology that had once been innovative but now lagged behind competitors. Employees moved with a defeated shuffle of people expecting pink slips. Coffee breaks fell silent when she approached, professional courtesy barely masking the unanimous belief that her presence was Adrian's misguided charity. What no one anticipated was Lila's methodical brilliance. Each night, she smuggled papers to her apartment, analyzing patterns others had missed. By day, she asked questions that made department heads squirm. The clock was ticking, her 3-month probationary period a countdown to either redemption or confirmation of her unworthiness. Alone in her apartment, Lila pressed her forehead against cold glass, watching rain trace paths down the window like tears. "Am I delusional?" she whispered to the empty room. Doubt crawled through her mind like poison. The corporate world operated by rules she'd forgotten, with social cues and politics that felt foreign after years of basic survival. In meetings, she caught herself using street slang that earned raised eyebrows and exchanged glances. Her clothes, the best she could afford, marked her as an outsider despite her efforts. Each night, exhaustion competed with determination as she hunched over spreadsheets by lamplight, her eyes burning from strain. The worst moments came when success felt possible, when hope threatened to bloom, because hope had proven the cruelest emotion, always preceding deeper disappointment. She traced her family's faces in a worn photograph, wondering if they would recognize the woman she'd become. "I'm trying," she told their silent images. But what if trying isn't enough? The breakthrough came unexpectedly as she reviewed customer complaints others had dismissed. Between angry comments about product failures lurked valuable insights about what users actually needed. Her business instincts, dormant but not dead, flared to life with sudden clarity. That night, sleep-deprived but energized, she drafted a radical proposal to pivot the division toward addressing these unmet needs. The woman who entered Adrian's office the next morning walked differently, shoulders back, eyes clear, voice steady as she presented her findings. Whatever happened next, she had reclaimed a piece of herself that poverty couldn't reach. "I wonder, beautiful souls, have you ever stood at the edge of something that terrified and exhilarated you simultaneously? That moment when you know taking the leap might break you, but not taking it definitely will?" Lila faced this precipice when presenting her radical ideas to Adrian and his executive team. Her analysis was sound, her vision clear, but the question remained, would they see beyond her circumstances to the substance of her mind? If this journey of transformation speaks to something inside you, take a moment right now to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to rebuild yourself from nothing? What gave you the courage to take that first impossible step? Your story matters to our community. The boardroom fell silent as Lila finished her presentation. Adrian's thoughtful nod contrasted sharply with the skeptical expressions surrounding him. "Bold strategy," he finally said, "but implementing it means completely restructuring the division." Before Lila could respond, news broke that rattled the company's foundation. Adrian's most significant investor was pulling out, citing leadership concerns. Stock prices plummeted within hours. Marcus Dre wasted no time capitalizing on the crisis, offering to buy shares at bargain prices while leaking inside information about Adrian's supposedly failing mental health. Overnight, what began as Lila's small project transformed into a critical component of the company's survival. Adrian, visibly strained but resolute, made a decision that shocked everyone. He promoted Lila to division director with complete autonomy to implement her strategy. "We're betting on your vision," he told her privately, the weight of consequential trust evident in his voice. Not just for the division, but potentially for the entire company. The stakes transcended professional success. This was existential for both of them. For Lila, failure meant returning to the streets, confirming every whispered doubt about her capabilities. For Adrian, it meant losing the empire he'd built from nothing. Marcus Dre intensified his offensive, targeting clients and employees with misinformation while making backroom deals with board members seeking to protect their investments. Internal sabotage became a daily threat as employees loyal to various executives undermined initiatives and leaked confidential information. Most devastating was the personal toll. Adrian's health deteriorated under relentless pressure while Lila worked 18-hour days, surviving on vending machine food and brief naps on her office couch. Their shared vulnerability created an unexpected bond that transcended professional boundaries. Late one night, as they reviewed crisis strategies, Adrian confessed, "I've never been this close to losing everything." Lila's response came from hard-earned wisdom. When you've already lost everything once, you learn that starting over is possible. Their quiet exchange in the darkened office marked a pivotal shift, two people from vastly different worlds recognizing in each other the same unflinching resilience. Meanwhile, industry rumors circulated about $1 billion government contract that could save or destroy companies competing for it. As Lila and Adrian formulated their bid strategy, they remained unaware that Marcus Dre was already orchestrating their most devastating challenge yet, a calculated attack on the one thing Lila couldn't afford to lose, her credibility. Late one night, as Lila sorted through archived company files seeking patterns that might strengthen their government contract bid, she discovered something that made her blood run cold. Hidden within deliberately complex accounting structures were traces of transactions linked to offshore accounts, transactions that coincided precisely with Adrian's most questionable business decisions. The pattern suggested not poor judgment but possible manipulation. Someone had been systematically guiding Adrian toward financial missteps while simultaneously profiting from them. Following the digital breadcrumbs required skills Lila had learned during her corporate marketing days, cross-referencing timestamps with board meeting minutes and stock fluctuations. Each connection deepened her suspicion. Adrian wasn't merely facing a business rival in Marcus Dre, he was confronting a master strategist who had infiltrated his company years ago. The evidence revealed a network of seemingly loyal employees who reported directly to Dre, strategically placed to influence decisions and access confidential information. Most damning was a buried email thread discussing Project Phoenix, a long-term strategy to systematically weaken Adrian's company until acquisition became inevitable. The meticulously documented plan included detailed profiles of key executives, including their vulnerabilities and leverage points. Lila's name had recently been added, with a disturbing note: background provides perfect opportunity for credibility attack when necessary. The revelation transformed her understanding of their predicament. This wasn't standard corporate competition but calculated destruction designed to appear as natural business failure. What began as Lila's journey to personal redemption had unknowingly placed her at the center of corporate espionage so sophisticated that even Adrian remained unaware of its full scope. When Adrian entered her office and found her surrounded by printed documents and digital evidence, Lila's hands trembled as she explained her discovery. "They've been playing a long game, 5 years at least. Everything that's happened was engineered." His face drained of color as implications crystallized. "My God, even my divorce," he whispered, connecting personal tragedies to the timeline of manipulation. The weight of betrayal bent his shoulders as he examined evidence that trusted colleagues were secret operatives in his destruction. Lila watched complex emotions cross his face, shock giving way to devastation, then hardening into cold fury. Her own response was equally complicated: vindication that her business instincts remained sharp, followed by fear at the enemies they faced, culminating in fierce protectiveness toward Adrian and the company that represented her second chance. "We could take this to authorities," she suggested cautiously. Adrian's hollow laugh held no humor. "With what proof? These connections are circumstantial. We'd look paranoid, which plays perfectly into their narrative about my judgment." Their eyes met in shared understanding. They stood alone against a machine designed to crush them. Yet beneath their fear flickered something unexpected, the exhilarating clarity of finally understanding the true nature of their battle. Knowledge, even devastating, provided power. As dawn broke through the windows, their determination solidified into something unbreakable. The government contract presentation loomed just 3 weeks away, insufficient time to dismantle years of sabotage. Rather than attempting to expose Marcus Dre's network, Lila proposed an audacious strategy pivot: we use their playbook against them. Instead of defending against inevitable attacks, they would create a deliberate vulnerability, a false narrative so tempting that Dre's team would pounce on it. "When they strike," Lila explained over midnight coffee, We'll be ready with countermeasures that expose their methods without revealing our knowledge of their larger operation. The plan required perfect timing and convincing performances from both Adrian and Lila, who would appear to disagree publicly about approach while working in seamless coordination behind closed doors. This strategic realignment came with profound personal implications. The deepening partnership between them blurred professional and emotional boundaries. Late strategy sessions evolved into shared confidences about their divergent yet parallel journeys from success to devastation and back toward possibility. Trust, the scarcest resource in both their lives, grew between them like something precious and fragile. Meanwhile, Dre accelerated his timeline, sensing the contract might derail his acquisition plans. Surveillance of Lila intensified, focusing on her homeless past, a vulnerability they planned to weaponize against her at the moment of maximum impact. As Lila and Adrian implemented their counteroffensive, neither fully grasped how their coming confrontation would forever alter not just their professional trajectories but the fundamental course of their intertwined lives. The government contract presentation became a high-stakes chess match that unfolded with terrifying precision. As Lila concluded her compelling pitch to the evaluation committee, Marcus Dre executed his attack. "Before decisions are made," his representative interrupted smoothly, "the committee should be aware of certain credibility concerns." The room tensed as fabricated evidence appeared on screens. Doctored records suggesting Lila had been terminated from her previous corporate position for embezzlement rather than personal tragedy. The devastating implication: her homelessness resulted from criminal behavior, not misfortune. Whispers rippled through the committee as Lila's throat tightened. This moment, anticipated yet still shocking, tested every ounce of her composure. Adrian, following their strategy, appeared visibly disturbed rather than supportive. His carefully crafted response, "These allegations are concerning and require investigation," sent a chill through the room. To all observers, Lila stood abandoned by her only ally, her redemption story crumbling beneath calculated lies. The committee chairman suspended proceedings pending resolution of character concerns, exactly as Lila and Adrian had predicted. Their trap was set. Within hours, news outlets carried the story, "Homeless consultant's criminal past questioned." Social media exploded with opinions, most condemning Adrian for reckless hiring practices motivated by misplaced charity. Lila's apartment building manager left an eviction warning, citing moral character clauses in her lease. Former colleagues from her pre-tragedy life distanced themselves publicly, unwilling to risk association with alleged criminal behavior. The attack extended beyond professional reputation to systematically dismantle every fragile support structure Lila had rebuilt. Simultaneously, Marcus Dre accelerated his company takeover strategy. 3 key board members, responding to shareholder panic, demanded Adrian's resignation. Major clients began suspending contracts pending resolution of leadership concerns. The company's stock plummeted to historic lows as market analysts predicted imminent collapse. Financial institutions called in loans, creating immediate cash flow crises. Most devastating was the synchronized abandonment by executives Adrian had trusted for years. People who'd shared holidays at his home now publicly questioned his stability and judgment. Adrian and Lila's counter-strategy required perfect timing to prevent absolute destruction. Working from a secure location, a small rental cabin outside city limits, they meticulously documented the coordinated nature of these attacks while gathering evidence from loyal employees who had identified additional Dre operatives within the company. Their investigation uncovered that Dre himself faced financial peril, his aggressive acquisition strategy built on leveraged assets that required Adrian's company acquisition to prevent his own collapse. This desperation explained the escalated timeline and increasingly reckless tactics. Meanwhile, the government contract committee continued background investigations, unaware they were parsing fabricated evidence designed specifically for their scrutiny. The emotional toll mounted as days passed. Adrian aged visibly, sleep deprivation etching new lines around his eyes as he worked tirelessly to preserve client relationships built over decades. One afternoon, struggling through his fourth consecutive conference call with worried investors, his voice finally cracked. "I can't keep doing this," he confessed after hanging up, head bowed in rare vulnerability. "Every person I thought I could trust is abandoning ship. 20 years of my life is evaporating because of lies I can't disprove quickly enough." Lila, herself exhausted beyond measure, crossed the room and knelt beside his chair. "You told me once that you invested in people, not just businesses. Now we need to invest in ourselves, our strength, our intelligence, our right to rebuild what others are determined to destroy." Her hand covered his, this simple human connection transmitting strength between two people who'd lost everything once before and recognized the familiar abyss yawning before them again. Later that night, as strategy gave way to shared silence, Adrian revealed the childhood poverty that had driven his relentless ambition and the emptiness that success had never filled. Lila, in turn, spoke of the guilt she carried, the argument with her husband before his fatal drive, the birthday party she'd been planning for her daughter who would never turn 7. These whispered confessions in pre-dawn darkness forged something beyond professional alliance or even friendship, a recognition that beneath titles and circumstances, they shared the same human fragility and resilience. "My beautiful family, watching Lila and Adrian fight against seemingly impossible odds makes me wonder, what unseen battles are you facing right now? Sometimes our greatest strength emerges when we're most broken, when everything we've built faces destruction. If you're in that moment of testing, know that this community stands with you. Drop a heart in the comments if you need support, or share a victory if you've overcome similar challenges. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell to follow Lila's journey through her darkest hour toward an unprecedented triumph that will leave you breathless. 3 days before the rescheduled contract presentation, Lila received an anonymous text, "Meet alone. Parking garage. Level B3. Midnight. Evidence about Dre you need." The message originated from inside Adrian's company, potentially from one of the few executives they still cautiously trusted. "It's almost certainly a trap," Adrian argued, pacing their hideaway cabin. Lila nodded, her expression resolute. "Which is exactly why I'm going." Her plan was audacious: spring the trap deliberately while gathering counterintelligence. Adrian's protests died when she explained her reasoning. "They're expecting me to be desperate enough to take this risk. If I don't appear, they'll know we're operating from a position of greater strength than they've calculated." As midnight approached and Lila prepared to depart for this dangerous meeting, Adrian clasped her shoulders, his voice low with emotion. "If anything happens to you," she pressed her fingers against his lips, stopping his words, "then you finish what we started." Their eyes held a moment longer than necessary, unspoken feelings suspended between them as Lila stepped into the night, unaware that Marcus Dre had just made a catastrophic discovery about their counteroffensive that would change everything. The parking garage echoed with Lila's measured footsteps as she descended to level B3. Shadows stretched between concrete pillars, each potentially concealing threats. When she reached the designated meeting point, the space remained eerily empty until headlights suddenly flooded the area, temporarily blinding her. As the glare subsided, Marcus Dre himself emerged from a luxury sedan, flanked by 2 security personnel. "Ms. Moreau," he greeted with artificial warmth, "I'm impressed by your courage, or perhaps it's desperation." His smile never reached his cold eyes as he gestured toward a tablet displaying surveillance footage of Adrian's cabin hideaway. "Did you really believe I wouldn't find you?" The revelation struck Lila like physical pain. Their counter-strategy was compromised. Dre continued with practiced charm, "I'm offering a singular opportunity. Testify that Adrian manipulated financial records to secure the government contract. In return, I'll ensure you receive generous compensation and a fresh start elsewhere." His offer hung in the air between them, a poisoned lifeline that would save Lila while destroying Adrian. The moment crystallized everything: years of struggle, months of fighting impossible odds, and the fundamental choice between self-preservation and loyalty. Lila's response came with quiet certainty. "You fundamentally misunderstand who I am, Mr. Dre." She stepped closer, unintimidated by his security. "I've already lost everything once. That experience teaches you what truly matters, and it isn't money or power." Dre's expression hardened. "Then you'll lose everything again." As he turned to leave, Lila spoke words that stopped him cold. "Project Phoenix has been compromised." She held up her phone, displaying a live video feed of federal agents entering Dre's corporate headquarters with search warrants. The parking garage meeting wasn't just a trap, it was Lila's trap. While Dre had discovered their hideaway, he'd missed their actual countermove. Elise Chen, Adrian's loyal executive assistant, had spent weeks secretly compiling evidence for federal investigators while Lila and Adrian served as visible decoys. Dre's face transformed with dawning comprehension and fury as he lunged toward Lila, only to freeze at the sound of multiple vehicles entering the garage. FBI agents who had been monitoring the meeting from the beginning. As Dre was restrained and read his rights, Lila felt no triumph, only profound exhaustion and the weight of knowing how narrowly they had escaped destruction. The government contract presentation the following week occurred in a dramatically altered landscape. With Marcus Dre under federal investigation for corporate espionage, market manipulation, and attempted bribery, the earlier attacks on Lila's credibility collapsed under scrutiny. Adrian stood before the committee a changed man, humbled by near destruction yet strengthened by surviving it. His introduction of Lila reflected this transformation. The measure of leadership isn't success during easy times, but who stands beside you when everything falls apart. This woman didn't just save our company, she reminded me why I built it in the first place. As Lila presented their vision for the billion-dollar contract, observers noted something remarkable in her demeanor. Gone was any trace of defensive justification or desperate proving. She spoke with the quiet authority of someone who had faced her worst fears and emerged intact. The technical brilliance of their proposal was enhanced by this newfound authenticity, creating an unbeatable combination of innovation and human resilience. Committee members who had previously dismissed her now leaned forward, captivated not just by concepts but by the extraordinary journey behind them. When the presentation concluded with unanimous approval, the victory represented far more than a business success. For Adrian, it marked evolutionary growth from ruthless ambition to principled leadership. For Lila, it completed a transformation from defined bylaws to self-determined architect of possibility. Their partnership, forged through shared vulnerability and mutual protection, had fundamentally altered both their professional identities and personal perceptions. As news headlines celebrated the contract award, neither Lila nor Adrian measured their achievement in dollars but in the reclamation of their most authentic selves. The aftermath unfolded like a succession of dominoes. Marcus Dre's arrest triggered investigations across multiple corporations, exposing widespread market manipulation that had damaged countless lives. Adrian's company not only survived but thrived as ethical leadership became its new hallmark. The division Lila had originally been hired to evaluate became the company's innovation engine, attracting global talent drawn to its redemptive culture. Board members who had abandoned Adrian during the crisis now sought reconciliation, only to find their positions filled by people who had demonstrated loyalty during adversity. Most significantly, Adrian implemented radical changes in corporate structure, creating pathways for advancement based on merit regardless of background, establishing housing assistance programs for employees facing personal crises, and founding an innovation incubator specifically for entrepreneurs from disadvantaged circumstances. These initiatives weren't performative charity but strategic recognition that diverse perspectives strengthened business outcomes. Lila, now officially Executive Vice President of Innovation, spearheaded these programs while mentoring others navigating their own professional resurrections. Their personal relationship evolved with the same authenticity that characterized their business partnership, neither rushing nor denying the deepening connection between them, both recognizing that healing sometimes requires patience. During the contract implementation phase, when a journalist asked Lila about her remarkable journey from homelessness to corporate leadership, her response became a quote replicated across business publications. "Success isn't measured by distance from your lowest point, but by how many others you lift while climbing." This philosophy defined their victory more profoundly than any financial metric, the understanding that true resilience creates ripples extending far beyond individual triumph to transform entire communities. 1 year after securing the billion-dollar contract, Lila stood at the podium of Ironwood Community Center, a gleaming new facility built where she once slept on park benches. Sunlight streamed through skylights onto faces filled with hope, former homeless individuals now enrolled in the center's business development program. "The greatest illusion I believed during my darkest days," she began, her voice steady with hard-earned wisdom, "was that I had become invisible. That society's inability to see me reflected my actual worth." Her gaze swept across the room. But worth isn't determined by external validation. It exists independent of recognition. Adrian watched from the sidelines, their relationship now openly acknowledged but deliberately kept private, both protective of something too meaningful to expose to public consumption. Their partnership had evolved into a profound balance of professional respect and personal devotion, neither diminishing the other. Lila continued addressing the attentive audience. "The notebook I carried through homelessness contained business ideas, yes. But what truly saved me wasn't entrepreneurial brilliance but radical self-belief when everything external suggested I should surrender." This perspective transformed how she navigated leadership, prioritizing potential over polish, resilience over resumes. Her executive team now included individuals whose backgrounds would have disqualified them in traditional corporate environments, a formerly incarcerated financial analyst whose mathematical genius had been overlooked because of his record, a domestic violence survivor whose strategic thinking had been honed by years of navigating unpredictable danger, veterans whose battlefield adaptability translated to exceptional crisis management. Together they demonstrated that conventional success metrics missed extraordinary talent hiding in plain sight. Lila's most profound perspective shift came in redefining time itself, no longer seeing her years of homelessness as lost time but as essential education that equipped her with unique insights now benefiting thousands. When asked by business students about her overnight success, she gently corrected them, "There's no such thing as overnight success. There are only years of invisible work suddenly becoming visible." The message embedded within Lila and Adrian's journey transcends business strategy or personal ambition. It illuminates the extraordinary resilience woven into ordinary human experience, our innate capacity to begin again after devastation. Their story reminds us that rock bottom isn't a permanent address but a temporary location on our larger journey. When everything external is stripped away, reputation, resources, relationships, we discover what remains is our essential self, undiminished and capable of rebirth. This universal truth crosses cultural boundaries and economic circumstances. Transformation isn't linear but cyclical, requiring us to repeatedly surrender who we were to become who we might be. The most profound wisdom from their experience isn't about financial reconstruction but spiritual reclamation, finding our intrinsic value separate from societal metrics of worth. Their partnership demonstrates how authentic connection becomes possible precisely when we're most vulnerable, how revealing our broken places creates space for others to share theirs. Perhaps most importantly, their story challenges the toxic individualism that permeates success narratives. Their triumph wasn't achieved through solitary genius but through mutual support, recognition of interdependence, and the courage to trust despite previous betrayals. This countercultural message, that we rise together or not at all, offers healing for our fragmented society that celebrates individual achievement while ignoring the communities that make it possible. My beautiful family, I want to pause here and speak directly to your heart. Somewhere watching this video is someone standing exactly where Lila once stood, not necessarily homeless physically, but feeling homeless emotionally, spiritually, or professionally. Perhaps you've experienced catastrophic loss. Maybe you're facing betrayal that threatens everything you've built. You might be questioning your capacity to begin again after failure, or wondering if your darkest experiences have permanently defined you. If that's you today, I want you to hear this truth. Your story isn't finished. Your worst chapter doesn't determine your final chapter. The very experiences breaking your heart today may become the foundation of wisdom that will eventually heal others. Remember how Lila transformed her pain into purpose. That same capacity lives within you. The question isn't whether you have what it takes to overcome. The question is whether you'll recognize the strength already present within you. What struggle are you facing that feels insurmountable right now? What dream seems impossible given your current circumstances? Share below if you feel comfortable. This community understands that vulnerability isn't weakness but the birthplace of authentic connection. If Lila and Adrian's journey from devastation to billion-dollar triumph has touched something deep within you, don't let this moment pass without taking action. Hit that subscribe button right now to join our family of resilient dreamers who refuse to be defined by their circumstances. Tap the notification bell so you never miss these stories of transformation that remind us what's possible when we refuse to surrender to limitation. But beyond these simple actions, I'm inviting you to something more profound, a commitment to your own redemption story. Today, find one small step you can take toward reclaiming your dream, whether it's updating your resume after years of unemployment, reaching out for help with addiction recovery, or simply writing down business ideas that seem impossible right now. Remember Lila's notebook? Your seemingly impossible ideas today might become tomorrow's reality. Share this video with someone struggling to believe in new beginnings. Your recommendation might be the lifeline they desperately need. Most importantly, return to this community whenever doubt creeps in or obstacles seem insurmountable. We're building something extraordinary together. A family that believes in second chances, third chances, and as many chances as it takes to create the life we're meant to live. Your transformation isn't just possible, it's already unfolding. And I'll be right here, celebrating every step of your journey from homelessness to wholeness.